Wow. To break right next to you. I'm a T-Rex to you. Wow. Break this. Hit you with that hit. Cause I am the bad old rapper.
Alright guys, now we're gonna start working on some submissions. Getting a submission is always the final goal of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Everything that we do in grappling, we do in order to get a submission. Why do we sweep our opponent? To get the top position so we can get a submission. Why do we take them down? Because we want to get him in a position where we can submit him. Everything that we do, we are always looking for the submission. It doesn't matter if I'm winning a fight 20-0. If my opponent finds an opening and gets a submission, the fight is over. He wins the match. Therefore, the most important thing is always the submission. We must always be actively looking for a submission opportunity, while at the same time never forgetting to protect ourselves. If I get careless, remember, my opponent might always stab me before I can get a submission on him. So now we're going to start covering some submissions, starting from the turtle guard position. Okay? When fighting from the turtle position, we should never forget to protect ourselves. We should always use the turtle's shell, so to speak, in order to protect our neck. This is how things will work. Just try to picture your gi top as the turtle's shell. I will never expose myself too much, and I'm always curled up using my shoulders and elbows to close any gaps. And I gotta be paying attention so I don't get tapped in this position. After I learn to protect myself in the turtle, I can start learning how to effectively use submissions from that position. Alright guys, now we're going to start working on our submissions from the turtle guard. So I'm going to start on my knees, the turtle guard, and my opponent will try to come with his hand on my collar like that. Why? Because he's always looking for the clock choke. That's a good attack for him. It's a common attack. So once he does that, I need to have a reaction here, and I'm going to get a submission from the same position. First thing I do is control his sleeve, and I pull his elbow down so I can duck under with my head. Now at the same time, as I'm ducking under, I'm going to get the submission here. Now I'm going to get something that I call the inverted wrist lock. So I'm going to bend his wrist like this here, instead of the normal like that. So like this. Now this is a technique that a lot of people use, especially from the stand-up position like that. Now a lot of black belts have been using this technique, and they have success with the technique because if you do it right, if you do it in the right timing, it's extremely effective, and sometimes you may even hurt your opponent because he's not able to tap in time. So control the wrist, control the elbows now with both hands like this, and lean forward, bringing your head down. Okay, so let's watch that now on the ground. So he controls my collar, I open his elbow like this, and right now I'm going to bring my head down and move my body to the right side. So pull the elbow, duck with the head, and now watch my body moving here. So you're right here, you're going to pull that elbow down, duck under with the head, and start moving sideways and lock his elbow with both hands. Getting the tap in the wrist lock. So right here, as soon as he gets that grip, I'm going to pull the elbow, duck with the head, now move. Get in the wrist lock. Alright guys, once again I'm going to start from the turtle position. My opponent finds himself on top of me, and now he's going to start trying to go and attack the collar. So he's always looking for that collar. I always need to block that attack. I don't want him to get to the collar. So I bring both hands at the inside, and now I'm going to move my right arm behind his arm. So watch my right hand, it comes on the outside like this, and now I control his elbow and I pull that elbow towards my hips here, just like this. Now I control my own wrist, and I get a figure 4 arm lock here, almost like an Americana lock. So once again, he tries to get my collar. I protect myself. I bring his elbow in, and I move his wrist out. I get my grips and finish in an Americana lock. Once again, I'm in my turtle trying to protect myself. He tries to grab the collar. Now, sometimes he may even get the collar. That's not a problem. All I gotta do is to make sure that I come on the outside with my right arm, bring in his elbow, and I break his grip by using my left hand close to his wrist. So I want to bring that left hand always close to the wrist. Move the elbow towards the inside and move your hand towards the outside so you can finish and get the submission there. Getting the Americana lock by bringing his elbow towards the inside and hand down. Now let's look at a different submission here. Once again, I find myself in a turtle guard, and my opponent tries to reach for the collar choke. Now, the first thing I need to do is to pull the elbow, just like before, and duck my head underneath. Now, I'm going to attack the opposite hand, so his left hand right here. I control his arm by pinching my elbow against my ribs, and now I have his arm trapped in that same position. So I trap the arm that's controlling the far collar, just like this. And now I'm going to move my head, and my body will move the opposite way. I move towards him. I control his wrist or my collar, and I bring pressure with my head backwards against his back like this, forcing the omoplata lock. Now I can also use a wrist lock just like this. So I find myself in the turtle position here, and Elan tries to get the clock choke. Make sure you pull the elbow down and escape with the head at the same time, trapping that arm there. Control the wrist. And at the same time, pop the head out, controlling his wrist. Bring your head towards his back. That prevents him from rolling and escaping. And get the tap here. It's very important to keep pressure with your head. If his head is not there, my opponent will roll. He will escape and expose my back. Let's see that again. My opponent controls the collar. I escape with my head, and I fall for the lock. Now, always keep in mind that you must put weight on top of your opponent to prevent him from escaping. Get the tap, or use the wrist lock like this. Let's take a look at a different arm attack here. Once again, I'm in a turtle, and Elan tries to attack my collar, just like before here, trying to get the clock choke. I'm going to defend that grip here by shooting my arm through. So I open and I bring my right hand on the inside, and I shoot my arm through like this, wrapping his arm all the way around. Now, I try to control his grip, so I need to break his grip by using my thumb on the inside, and I control my own wrist and his wrist just like this, getting ready for the shoulder lock. I fall back, so I lean back, moving my back towards the ground just like this, and as I do that, I need to get my half guard, so I use my left leg to lock the half guard so he won't be able to roll and escape. And now I get the finish here. Once again, Now, I can also get the lock before he controls my collar. I don't have to wait for him to get the collar. So control his wrist, control your own wrist. Now, move your back towards the ground, close the half guard to prevent him from escaping, and finish getting the submission. Now we're going to look at a different technique that's extremely similar to the last one. This time we're going to attack the shoulder lock like before, but Elan is going to protect himself. He's going to try to stop me from getting the finish. The shoulder lock is a position that everybody's familiar with. However, people are not used to being on the receiving end of that technique when I'm fighting from the turtle guard. They think they're in control. They think they have the upper hand here. So I'm going to control his sleeve here so I can shoot my right arm through, and I wrap my arm around his arm. Now I need to come and break his grip here so I can control his wrist, and now I'm going to control my own wrist. As I'm trying to go for the previous technique, the shoulder lock, my opponent leans forward. Now it's impossible for me to go backwards. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move forward, so I roll. Once I land in this position here, now I have enough power in order to break his grip. So I'm going to break his grip like this, and I'm going to roll sideways towards the mount like that. Once I get to this mounted position, I shoot my leg over his head, and I get the tap like this. So I'm in the turtle position. Sometimes I don't even let him get the collar. I attack right away. So he's trying to come for the collar. I control his wrist. I shoot my arm over, control my own wrist, and now he knows that the technique is coming and he blocks. So he really stays heavy here. Once I get to this position, I'm going to roll forward. I'm going to move my head sideways like this, rolling on top of the shoulder. Once I land in this position here, I'm going to plant my left foot on the ground. I'm going to start moving towards the mount as I break his grip here. So break the grip and mount. Rolling this way. Now it's important to keep his hand away from my leg so that he doesn't grab my gi like this. Because now it's going to turn into a war. So keep it away. Shoot your leg on top of his head. And now you're in a good position to get the tap. Alright guys, let's work on another technique here from the turtle guard. Now my opponent positions himself a little bit towards my back like this. He gets to a stalling position. He doesn't want to attack me anymore. He just wants to stall. Maybe he's winning the fight by 1 or 2 advantages, and he just wants to stay here stalling. He doesn't want anything else. He moves towards my back and just controls my leg like this. Here's what I'm going to do in this situation. Without him notice, so I try to call his attention elsewhere, maybe towards the front here. I'm going to start setting up my shoulder roll. So I come and I control his wrist here. I control the sleeve near the wrist. And as soon as I get control of that sleeve, I'm going to roll over my shoulder towards the omoplata, like this. Once I get this position here, I'm going to control his belt with one hand, so he won't be able to roll forward. I stay heavy with my legs on top of his shoulder, bring my other hand on the ground, control his waist, and now I'm going to bend my legs, like this here, moving forward to get the tap. Once again, now the hand that was controlling the belt, as I'm starting to sit up, it's going to control around his waist. And it's very important to stay heavy with the legs on top of his shoulders so he won't be able to stand up. If I don't bring that pressure, he's going to be able to stand up like this. So stay heavy with the legs, and now you can open the triangle. Get in the tap. Again. I'm doing my turtle guard. He tries to control my leg. As soon as he gets that grip, I move my head sideways and I start to shoulder roll here. Sometimes I may start the roll before I get control of the sleeve, and I get the sleeve halfway through the roll. Just like this here. Control the belt, place the opposite hand. One hand on the belt, opposite hand on the ground. Now always heavy with the legs. Start sitting up. And get the tap. Now we're going to work on a variation of the omoplata lock. This technique is really interesting. It's going to start from the turtle guard. And this omoplata lock was developed by my partner, Tererê. And it's something that really worked for me. It fit my game pretty well. And I'm pretty sure it's going to work for you guys as well. It's a great technique here. So once again, I start from the turtle guard. Elan gets a hold of my leg here. As soon as he controls my leg here, I'm going to start the shoulder roll. So move your head sideways and reach for his wrist there. Always trying to control the sleeve. I roll and I find myself in this position here. As soon as I finish the roll here, my opponent gets my belt here or my pants, and he starts lifting my hips off the ground like this in order to defend. Now, without him expecting, I'm going to bring my weight with my legs on top of his shoulder by stretching my legs like this here. Just like this. And now you can see that my hips are off the ground. The only thing that's touching the ground is my shoulders. And I'm going to shoot my left leg here underneath his leg. So you can see that I'm going to try to use my left hook there under his leg, just like this. And this is going to bring a lot of pressure, and at the same time it prevents him from rolling forward. As soon as I get the hooks, I can let go of his hand here, and now I place both hands on the mat. I'm going to try to sit up, and now I stretch my legs like this to get the tap here with the omoplata lock. I can also move my hips backwards like this because it even brings more pressure. There's a lot of people that are flexible here, and they can't stand the omoplata. So if I do it like this, I guarantee the tap even against the flexible opponents. Once again, as soon as he gets a hold of my leg, I'm going to start the shoulder roll, and I'm going to reach for his sleeve here. So shoot your arm through as you roll, and you land in the omoplata position. My opponent tries to stand up. I bring my weight down, and I get the hooks. Once I get the hook on the inside, everything is pretty much done. I can let go of his wrist. All I got to do now is stretch my leg. Place both hands on the ground and move your hips away like this. Always keep in mind that you can also use the wrist lock here in order to get the tap. Alright guys, let's work on yet another variation of the omoplata lock that happens a lot. There are some people that defend the omoplata like that, pulling my hips up, and there is another group of people that like to jump over the top in order to defend the lock. So let's see what happens in that situation here. I start from my turtle, my opponent controls my leg. Now I'm going to move my head sideways and execute the roll. Once I find myself in this position, right now, as soon as I get control of that arm, my opponent tries to jump to the side, like this. So as soon as I notice that he's going to try to execute that jump, I need to block him. So I just control the foot and I slide my hand towards his toes like this. I bring his knee close to my hips so that his leg is bent. So like this. And now use your left hand to go around his ankle, controlling your own wrist, and get in the tap. Let's see that once more. I'm in the turtle, he controls the leg. I roll. Before he jumps, I control any way I can. Move that knee towards your hips and control his foot near the toes. Whenever you're looking for a foot lock, you don't want to get close to the heels, but close to the toes like this. Just like this. Move your elbow downward so his leg is bent and he can no longer stretch his leg. And get the submission. Alright guys, since we just demonstrated a toe hold in the previous technique, we're gonna stay on the same topic. I started by attacking an omoplata lock and took advantage of the position to attack his foot in a foot lock. Now we're gonna discuss two topics that are interlinked, the foot lock and the leg lock. Those two techniques pretty much complete each other. Whenever my opponent attempts to escape from a leg lock, he usually offers me a foot lock and vice versa. You escape from the foot lock, you offer the leg lock. You escape from the leg lock, you offer the foot lock. This is going to happen all the time, and it's important for us to understand this concept and take advantage of this fact. When my opponent has his leg flexed, we're going to attack his foot. Once I do that, my opponent may stretch his leg out in order to defend the position. However, he's now offering me a leg lock. Now, in order to block that leg lock, he bends his leg again. Once again, the foot lock is there for you. This is a back and forth battle. Foot, leg, leg, foot. We will now start to work on many foot locks and leg locks, and I'm going to transition between them according to my opponent's reaction. So we're going to start with a variation of the previous technique to demonstrate to you how this principle works. So Elan gets a hold of my leg. I'm going to shoot through and roll over like this to the omoplata. And now he tries to jump over the top. I control his leg, I control his ankle, and I start to go for my toe hold here. Once I start going for that foot lock, Elan starts stretching his leg like this in order to escape. I'm going to let go of my omoplata. I plant my leg on the ground so I can scoot my hips, get into this position here, finishing the leg lock. So I was trying to go for the foot lock once his leg was bent. He tried to stretch it. And then once he stretches, I make the transition to the leg lock. He's offering me that lock. Let's see it again. I roll over. I get the omoplata, he tries to jump over, I stop the jump and I start working towards the foot lock. Now my opponent starts stretching his leg out, I plant my left foot, I scoot my hips so I can move my knee in, and now I chop. Now notice how I do this here. Once I get the knee in, I can throw the left leg over, and my right leg will now come on top of the left one, closing a triangle. Once I lock that triangle, all I gotta do is control my own collar and thrust my hips upward in order to get the tap. Okay, now we're gonna work on a leg lock that is pretty similar to the omoplata that we did before. How are they similar? We use shoulder rolls in both techniques. I'm going to start the technique in the sitting up guard, as I always do before I make the transition to the turtle guard. I start finding Elan from my open guard, and now as I move to transition to the turtle, I'm going to shoot my right leg on the inside of his legs, stretching it out like this. My goal is to get this type of hook here, just like so. So, always get this type of hook, just like this here. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw towards the shoulder here, so forward. I need to look towards the outside because I'm going to bring my weight towards elan here. So I look to the opposite way. So once I look, always keep in mind that you need to protect your neck first. So duck underneath that hand there. And now you can roll. And you can see that his leg is already trapped. I control it, and I submit him here. Once again, I start fighting elan from the open guard, and as I come to my knees, I'm going to shoot my right leg towards the inside of his legs. So like this, and now I try to hook his left leg here. Now, open the position here so you can get to your turtle. All I gotta do is execute my roll. I look sideways and I roll on top of the opposite shoulder. And his leg is already trapped and I control it on a leg lock. Get into submission. We will now demonstrate a technique that illustrates that principle. If his leg is stretched, I'm going to get the leg lock. If his leg is bent, I'm going to get the foot lock here. So we're fighting from the same position, the sitting up guard. I stretch my right leg between his legs and I try to get that hook there. Once I get to this position, I execute my roll, and as I roll, elan knows that I'm going to attack the leg lock, and he protects like this. He locks his legs here, and his leg is now bent. Here's what I'm going to do in this situation here. I'm going to go and I'm going to attack the opposite foot. So I bring that foot to the center, getting the foot like this. Okay? Let's see it again. We start from the sitting up guard. I'm going to use my hook on the inside over his left leg like this. Get to the turtle, protecting your neck. You don't want him to grab the collar like this, so make sure your head is underneath and roll. As I roll, he already protects. Sometimes I may end up sitting up like this, but usually what happens is for me to be flat on my back. Now, once he protects the leg lock, that means he's offering me the foot lock. So use your right arm here to go around his ankle, bring his foot towards me. And my left hand comes on top of his toes like this. I control my own wrist. And then let's watch the details here. So once he locks here, we're going to notice the details. I'm going to use a monkey grip here. So thumb and fingers on the same side, just like this here, not like the opposite way. And I apply the pressure. Where should I apply the pressure? Not straight forward like this, but to the side, towards the inside. I'm going to use my right arm to lift my elbow here. Always using a twisting motion like that in order to get the tap. Alright guys, let's see another technique here, and this time we're going to start from the turtle guard. So I'm fighting from my knees right here, and elan is trying to control me from behind. I'm going to pull my leg is right now on the outside, I'm going to pull it in so I can hook his leg like this here. Once I get that hook on the inside of his legs, I'm going to roll. And now as I roll, he's going to protect himself from the knee bar by crossing those legs. I control his foot and I'm going to pull just like a footlock. Now once he noticed the footlock coming, he stretches his leg. I control behind his heel here with my right hand, so right now he cannot come back there. And this lets me free to attack his opposite leg here, finishing with a leg lock submission. So I'm fighting for my knees here, and right now Ilan is attacking behind me. Now since he's right behind me this time, I'm gonna use my hips to move him forward like this here. And then I hook his leg. Once I hook the leg, I roll. Once I roll, he defends the leg lock. As he defends, I try to go for the foot lock, and now he defends the foot lock by stretching that leg. I come with my right hand against his heel, and I keep that leg away from me. And right now, there's no more defense against the leg lock. Even if he tries to return, he can't. And now I control the opposite leg.